Hello and welcome everyone to today's conversation on coaching certification. Very excited to have each and every one of you here. Looking forward to some great just basic information on how coaching certification works. I want to on the front end thank all of you for submitting questions ahead of time and for checking out the Center for Coaching Certification. So to let you know a couple of things, because these questions come up frequently. Number one, many of your questions are built in to what we're covering in today's conversation, and a few of them will be calling out. In addition to the questions that you submitted ahead of time, yes, ask more questions. This time is for you. It's about getting the answers, knowing what you want to know about coaching certification. So you've got two choices for asking those questions. One is if you're brave and you want to come on live, if you've got a good microphone attached or whatever works for you, you can actually raise your hand. You do that by clicking on the little icon of a hand, and I can unmute you and you can ask your question live. The other option that you've got is in the panel for the webinar system on your computer screen. You do have a place where you can type in questions, and yes, I'll be watching that as we go. So whatever questions show up there, I will make it a point to address those questions as well. And yes, you will have access to this information after the fact. For this particular program, what we'll do is we record it and we will put it up on our YouTube channel. I will send a link to it on YouTube to everyone that registered, so that way if you want to go back and check it out again or share it with someone else, you're going to have that opportunity. One last little housekeeping thing. I do want to let you know, the bottom line to me is you're investing your time in checking out this organization and this program, and we're going to return that favor. So at the end of the conversation today, I do have something for you. Just letting you know. All right, so diving in. I love starting with a story, and my story is probably very similar to many of you that are on the call. I'll give you an example. People say to me, how did you get into coaching in the first place? And I'm guessing some of you are thinking about, okay, what's bringing me to this point? For me, what I found is I had people saying to me, hey, you should be a coach. Oh, you should check out coaching. You'd be really good at coaching, that kind of thing. And I even had people asking me, will you coach me? And I'm, what are you all talking about? I didn't even know. And so after I heard it enough, probably very much like many of you, I started going, okay, I better find out more. And I started researching. What is coaching? How does it work? What's this whole thing about certification, etc.? So just like you, checked it out. I actually invested 6 months in researching coaching and coaching certification. And what I found, I absolutely love it. It completely fits into my own philosophy. It all resonates with me, and it's an amazing process. So very excited to share information on that with all of you. Our agenda for the conversation today. First off, we'll define coaching. We will talk industry statistics and insights, important information to know. We're going to walk you through the CCC, Center for Coaching Certification, Staircase to Success coaching model, and we're also going to walk through the coaching process and how that works. We will be talking about the pros and cons of certification. Of course, it'd be really nice to say, hey, it's all pros, and yes, we get the reality. There are cons. We will talk about reasons people choose certification at the Center for Coaching Certification, and we're going to talk about what to look for in a training program. So of course, we want each and every one of you choosing our program. At the same time, there are a lot of great programs out there. We know that. So whatever you choose, what do you want to make sure you're looking for in a training program? We'll talk about opportunities for coaching and how to really develop that as a career for yourself. We'll talk about the Center for Coaching Certification program so you have really good insight on it. So I'm loving these questions already. So first off, Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the energy. Coaching is something that is so fun, so exciting, and so powerful. I'm going to answer your question, what inspires me? That's what inspires me, because it really makes a difference for people. I'm guessing so many of you come to this saying, I want to help other people. I want to make a difference for people. And this is, to my knowledge, the single most powerful tool for really making that difference. So awesome question right on the front end. Let's go ahead and dive in. So definition of coaching. What is coaching? How does it work? The definition that I'm going to share with you comes straight from the International Coach Federation. I will give you some information on that organization in just a moment. First off, check out the language of how they describe coaching, because it's incredibly insightful in terms of both the power, the impact, and then also where it goes. So it starts off by saying coaching is a strategic partnership. So hone in on that word partnership. Think about it this way. When somebody hires a consultant, or somebody hires a mentor, or somebody pays someone for a professional service, most often that person is expected to be the expert. In coaching, we're not the expert. The client is their own best expert. We're a true partnership. So we're there with process. They are there in terms of being their own best expert. It goes on. The coach empowers the client. We put them in charge so that the client is the one who clarifies their own goals. They create their own action plans. They move past obstacles and they achieve what they choose. It really does put the client in control, and that's the power of coaching. So I mentioned International Coach Federation. That's where the definition came from. Who are they? What are they? So let's talk about that for a second. First off, coaching is a fairly young profession, and currently, technically speaking, there is no requirement or regulation that says you've got to do anything. What that means is literally anyone can hang out a shingle and say, hey, I'm a coach. I do coaching. My dog can hang out a shingle. And if you are willing to pay my dog, then she's in business as a coach. So what does that mean? Well, yeah, there are people out there calling themselves a coach who have no coach training. Now, let me ask you this question. If you're going to pay somebody for professional services, how important is it to you that they actually have training or know their own code of ethics, etc.? So yes, of course it's significant. What's happening is as the coaching profession matures, just like every other profession that's out there, it's going through the process of, okay, what are the standards? What is the code of ethics, etc.? So currently we are what I call a self-regulated profession. And when we say self-regulated, that means through membership organizations that define the ethics and the standards. The International Coach Federation is the largest of these. They're what we call the gold standard in terms of coaching. So frequently and increasingly what we're seeing is when somebody hires a coach, they're starting to learn and be savvy enough to say, hey, are you part of the ICF? When I took out my insurance, for example, as a coach, I got asked, are you part of the ICF? And it made a difference on my insurance rates. So that's incredibly significant for all of us. So who are they? What are they? Well, they're a nonprofit. It's a professional membership organization. They, as I mentioned, are the gold standard in terms of coaching standards, ethics, etc. They provide us with the code of ethics, and when you're a member of the International Coach Federation, they hold you accountable to that code of ethics. That's one of the reasons people are asking, hey, are you part of the ICF? They also have standards, so specifically they approve training programs. They have to date approved over 1,297 of them. That's a lot. They have standards in terms of membership requirements. So if you want to join the ICF as a member of the organization, they require you to have 60 hours of coach-specific training. They also, in addition to membership standards, have a credentialing process. So many times I get questions on this, and I know several of you have questions on this, so let's clarify. Becoming a member of the International Coach Federation is kind of like saying, hey, I got my degree. And then earning a credential is very much like saying, okay, now I'm getting a master's or a doctorate. So it's an advanced level. There are additional requirements for a credential that are above and beyond the membership requirements. So hopefully that helps with that understanding. Of course, feel free, if you have a follow-up question, put it in or raise your hand. So let's start looking at what's going on in the world around us in terms of coaching. Right Management said 86% of the time when companies are using coaching, they're doing it to sharpen the skills of individuals who are targeted as future leaders. Denison Consulting identifies coaching as the organizational development tool of choice. I love that. It's such a great tool. It's for leaders and for emerging leaders. It's incredibly powerful. It is currently the second fastest growing profession in the world. And yes, you guessed it, technology is the first. So coaching is second to that. Fortune magazine put out an article talking about coaching and what the return on investment is. When you read the article, it's clear that they did this based on a number of different research studies. And so when you look at what they're publishing, it says the average return on investment is about 6 times what the coaching costs the company. Okay, wait a minute, pause just a second, process that. 6 times, that means 600% return on investment. When you get that kind of a return on investment, I mean, to me, it just begs the question, how can you afford not to have a coach? It's that powerful. It's making that much of a difference. 600%. All right, when people do hire a coach, what are the reasons? So we're going to start with a look at the corporate world and the reasons companies hire coaches. This information comes from the Harvard Business Review. And here's what they said. The number one reason companies hire a coach is to develop high potentials or to facilitate a transition. So there's change going on in the organization, people moving up or changing in their leadership roles. And guess what? That's right in keeping with what Right Management said. So we're seeing this from multiple different sources. 48% of the time. What does that mean to all of us? It means if somebody has a coach, it's kind of like, hey, you get the corner office with the window. You've arrived. You have a coach now. The company is truly investing in you. The second most common reason to have a coach is to act as a sounding board. When you think about what's going on in the executive space, this makes a tremendous amount of sense. When people are running their organization, the bottom line is it's significant to them to have an opportunity to think out loud, to have someone challenge their thinking and expand their thinking. So that's what a coach does. They act as a sounding board. Now, it used to be people said, well, isn't it kind of you have a coach if there's a problem? Not so much anymore. You see, the bottom line is it's an investment. So when you have a coach, it's because they want you to be successful. Having said that, 12% of the time, according to the Harvard Business Review, coaching is used to address a derailing behavior. Now, let's talk about what that really means. It means they want that individual to be successful. They've got tremendous skill, talent, and ability. There's simply something going on that's getting in the way, and a coach is going to help them move past that and, in fact, be successful. Now, when the Harvard Business Review did this study, they found something out that I think, okay, yeah, duh. And a lot of people at the same time are surprised by it. So here's what it is. 76% of the time when people are brought in for coaching in the corporate space, personal issues get addressed. And sometimes people say, well, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be about the job and the work and that kind of thing? Yes, absolutely. And whoever that individual is, whatever they have going on in their personal world, comes to work with them. It's part of who they are, and it affects their focus while they're at work. So it totally makes sense that personal issues get addressed as well. That's part of the success of the coaching process. Now, let's look at it from an individual basis. You have companies hire coaching. You also have a lot of individuals hiring coaches for themselves. And what motivates them? So the number one reason individuals hire a coach is career. And this comes out in several forms. You see people, yes, recent graduates, they're launching their career and they want to be really smart about it because what you do right at the beginning carries through your whole life. You also will see people who are changing careers midstream or people who are in a career they love and they want to be very strategic about how they're advancing it and moving it forward. So that's a big area for individuals. Another is business management. Again, it makes a lot of sense. Think about how many people start companies or businesses, and you've probably seen the research. So for people to do that and be successful for the long term, chances are they have really great knowledge and skill in terms of the product or the service they provide. And then there are gaps in other areas. How do they intentionally, strategically build their business, make it scalable, manage the growth and the development, etc.? And that's where a coach is going to make a difference. Now, sometimes people are surprised by the next one, and I'm thinking, okay, it's real. We're all human. And what does that mean? That means to some degree, different amounts at different times. Self-esteem is going to be a factor. If we don't have enough, it slows us down. It gets in the way of us being successful. If we're overly confident in a way that, yeah, not so much, it can also get in the way. So having the appropriate level of self-esteem and confidence is going to make a difference in individual success. And then, of course, the next reason, you've heard these buzzwords for a long time, work-life balance. Yes, we're doing more than ever with less than ever. How do you manage so that the amount of work is manageable for you and you have a life too? Big area for individuals to hire a coach. All right, let's get into some hard numbers, statistics. So I mentioned the Fortune magazine's article. They looked at a number of the different research studies. I'm going to share a couple more of those research studies here. I think the most commonly cited one comes from Manchester Inc. And Manchester Inc. said coaching has a 570% return on investment. Right in keeping with those numbers. Now, Metrics Global put out a study as well. And of course, one of the challenges of these studies is, okay, how do we measure this? There are what we call qualitative results, skill development, relationships, that kind of thing. How do you measure the bottom line impact of those? And that is, in fact, a huge challenge. And at the same time, there are quantitative things you can measure. You can look at turnover, you can look at productivity numbers, you can look at the bottom line. One of my favorite studies was done by Triad Performance Technologies, and they looked at coaching in sales in the telecommunication industry. And the number they came out with, just looking at those sales numbers, purely quantitative, 1,000% return on investment. Wow. That's absolutely astounding. Okay, so we've seen the numbers on the return on investment. Let me give you another one. simply looking at productivity in the workplace. Now, a lot of companies invest in training. They want their people to understand what they're doing and how to do it, etc. And when they do a training program, they increase productivity by 22.4%. That's exciting. When you add coaching to that, you get an 88% productivity gain, 4 times the impact. How does that even make sense? Well, think about it. Go back to the definition we started with. Because a coach puts a client in charge of figuring out their own answer, developing their own goals and strategies and action steps, that person owns it. And when they own it, they follow through. That's where you get the difference. So training is a fabulous tool for providing information. When you combine it with coaching, the coach is saying, okay, how are you going to apply this information? What does this mean to you? How are you using it? What are you going to do to create the change you want? And that's the impact. That's the difference. All right. When somebody decides who they want as a coach, what are they looking for? Harvard Business Review said 2 things are most important. 1, they want experience in a similar setting. You see, sometimes I get people that ask, hey, can I coach anyone? Who do I coach? That kind of thing. So while coaching is really a process expertise, the reality is when someone is hiring a coach, they do want to know the background. And what's the reason for that? They want to know that you understand them, their circumstances, what they're dealing with, and because they want to be efficient in terms of the process. So they're looking for your background. Now, when you come to coaching certification, sometimes I have people ask me, hey, are you going to teach me that? Well, ultimately, whatever experience and education you have, that's what you have. When you're looking at coaching certification, you're here to learn coaching. What is it? How does it work? What's the process? And that speaks to the second thing that Harvard Business Review cited, a clear methodology. So let's give you an example of that. The Staircase to Success coaching model is an analogy to help really understand the coaching relationship and the coaching process. So we're going to relate the coaching to building a staircase. So imagine this, if you're going to build the staircase, what's the first thing you do? Well, you start by putting a framework in place. You build that triangle of wood and you're going to frame it out so you have a place to put your stairs. When you relate that to coaching, what is the framework? Well, just like any profession out there, I'm guessing you can guess this. So the first thing is, yes, you get training. If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an HR professional, a talent development professional, whatever it is, you get training first. And with that training, what you're doing is developing specific competencies to do the work. And as part of that process, you're also learning about the ethics that are pertinent to your profession. So yeah, a lot of people come to it and say, well, I'm ethical. Well, of course you are. You're ethical and you want to help people. That's what brings you here in the first place. At the same time, we don't know what we don't know. There are specific nuances to the ethics for coaches that are completely different than anything else out there. So it's incredibly important to learn what that is and what it means. That's your foundation. Now, once the foundation or the framework for the staircase is in place, you can start putting your stairs up. The first step in the coaching relationship is having an agreement. Now, setting up that agreement involves 2 stages. The first stage is the conversation, talking with somebody. Hey, what is coaching? What isn't it? How does it work? What's this relationship all about? And the second stage of setting the agreement is an actual written agreement. It defines the roles, how it works, etc. So having that agreement in place is getting you ready to take the next step in the relationship. And the next step is for the coach to understand the client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? How is that influencing what's going on? What are their circumstances and considerations? So the coach really understanding the client. And in that process, guess what it's doing? It's helping the client understand themselves more clearly, and it's preparing you for the next step. And that is a level of rapport. We can also call that trust and intimacy. You see, ultimately, the number one indicator of success in a coaching relationship is the rapport between the coach and the client. Having that level of trust, because what that means for you is that your client is really willing and comfortable opening up and talking and sharing, because that's how they're going to advance and move forward. Now, once you have that rapport in place, the communication process is your next key step. And in coaching, the questions we ask during communication are very different than they are in any other profession. So we listen, and we listen deeply. What are they saying? What aren't they saying? And we ask powerful questions. That in turn sets up the step of exploration. And the exploration is the client considering, what do they want? What are the possibilities? What are the barriers? What are the strategies? And figuring out how they're going to move forward. So they do design strategies and action steps for themselves. And that step in turn moves them toward the doorway that we're going to call success. And that success is defined by the client. So that's the coaching relationship. What's the actual process? What happens when you're coaching somebody? So let's explore that. First off, whether you are coaching as an employee inside of a company or you're hired by companies or individuals to coach people, it makes sense to have what we call an introductory coaching session. What happens in this session? It's 20, 30 minutes. It gives that client a chance to experience what coaching's like and to have a sense of what the coach is like. The coach gets to know the client, and they figure out, hey, are we a good match? Are we going to develop the rapport and work together effectively for the benefit of the client? So that's the intention of that introductory session. Once you say, yeah, this is great, we have that rapport, we're going to work well together, you move into what we call an opening session. And that's getting that big picture. What does the client want in all the different areas? What are the influencing factors for them? What is their dream? And when you have an understanding of what it is they want, then in the next session, you're working with them, how are they going to focus and maintain their focus and fully engage? Because achieving those goals means creating change, and creating change takes work. So how are they going to be motivated to stay on track and move forward? And you're setting that up. Then on an ongoing basis in your coaching relationship, the client prioritizes what they want to work on. They develop their strategies, design their action plan, and the coach is there checking in with them on their progress and their success, and then partnering with them on the ongoing process. Now, the average coaching relationship lasts 12 months. As you move to closing out that coaching relationship, it is on the coach to work with the client in terms of their long-term. How are they maintaining what they have accomplished during this coaching, and how are they continuing to build on it? So their long-term planning, and then a closing session wrapping up that coaching relationship. So that's your actual process for the relationship. All right. Let's dive into talking about certification. If you're going to become a coach and be effective, there are pros, there are cons. What are they? So let's start here. First off, how important is certification? Back to Harvard Business Review, they asked this question a number of years ago. Now, I think the numbers are changing over time based on what I'm saying. This is when the study was done, so we're going to go with it. 29.2% said certification is very important. They want that in place. At the same time, 28.5% said, doesn't matter at all. It was all about the referral for them. Having someone else they knew say, yes, this person's a good coach. Then you've got everybody in the middle. Another 42% saying, somewhat important. Yeah, it's important. It makes a difference. So a different range, if you will, of how important they felt it was. So what does that mean to you? 70+% are assigning some level of value to having certification. And as I mentioned, this is changing. We're seeing that number go up. Very much like the buyer beware. As people are learning more about coaching and the word's getting out there more and more, they're learning to ask, are you certified? So it's definitely coming up. Now let's dig into some specific pros and cons. The cons to me are almost obvious. I wish I could say they aren't there. And the reality is, of course they are. What are the cons? Well, just like any education or training that you look at, the cons of certification are time and money. Sorry, I got a question. I missed it earlier on that Harvard Business Review study in terms of how important is certification. I'm going to say, oh gosh, you're testing my memory in terms of when it was done. I want to say approximately 10 years ago, and I know that's not exact. I'll have to double check myself, and if you want, I can get back to you on that. Okay, so cons of certification, time and money. It takes time to go through an educational program. Think about it. You went to grade school, high school, college. That took time, and it costs money. So just like anything else we do, yes, time and money are a factor. Those are the cons. Now, on the pro side of certification, it's a career advancement opportunity. So let me give you a couple of examples. If you happen to work in human resources, coaching is considered a sub-competency. So increasingly, we are seeing people that are working in HR that their job is wanting them to develop their coaching skills. If you are in talent development or training, the ATD, used to be ASTD, cites coaching as a core competency. You saw the statistic earlier, organizational development tool of choice. So the bottom line is increasingly jobs either request it or even require coaching certification. So it's making a difference in career advancement. I'm going to say that goes even further. Think about it this way. What does coaching amount to? It's about people skills. It's about communication skills. I cannot think of any job that those skills aren't going to make a difference. The bottom line, whatever you do, this is helpful in what you do. Now, beyond that, for those of you that are in business for yourself or going into business for yourself, it is an opportunity in terms of developing that. So I'll give you an example. We see a lot of consultants go through the program, and it's because they're going to add coaching services to what they already offer clients, or they're going to use the coaching skills in the work that they're doing with clients. So it's a development opportunity for them. We also see people who are starting coaching businesses, either part-time or full-time, and for them, they're preparing themselves to be effective in having that business. When people do choose certification at the Center for Coaching Certification, how do they decide? What makes the difference there? I'm going to share with you what we've been told. So first off, credibility is a factor, and that's a tough one. There are hundreds and hundreds of training programs out there. How do you know what's credible? So looking at approvals and accreditations organizations have, and then of course the word of mouth makes a difference for a lot of people, so the credibility factor. Next, are they providing coaching tools? So when you go through a training class, you're going to gain coaching tools. That's part of learning coaching. And in addition to that, as an example for you, we actually have a coach login page where we provide tools to our graduates. So having access to that. Ongoing support. So in addition to the training program that we do, as an example, we have free continuing education available. We publish a book every year, and that's a win-win in a couple of ways. Number one, great content and information. Number two, it's an opportunity for you to be a published author, because the book that we publish each year, the individual chapters, are written by graduates of the program. So it's a fabulous opportunity to get published. We also work with you in terms of getting yourself listed in an online directory, being available for coaching services, and we help you get out there if you want to guest blog or do a guest webinar, etc. So lots of opportunities. One of the questions coming in now is, how many coaches have we certified? I can tell you easily over 900. I think I'm getting close to that 1,000 mark. So a lot of people have been doing it for, the Center for Coaching Certification has been here for 6 years. So hopefully that's answering what you want to know there. What else do people care about? The professional development. So here's what happens. Many organizations or professional designations require people to have continuing education, and this program does qualify for that. So that's a big consideration, as well as it being a skill area people want to develop. And then in addition to that, personal development. The bottom line is we're all growing. We're still alive, right? So we're still growing, and the personal development out of the program is fabulous. So those are reasons we hear. Now let's explore it in a bit of detail, because you've got some considerations in making your own decision. So first off, the level of training. What level of training do you want? You see, there are programs out there that a few hours online and they'll send you a certificate. And there are programs that can take 10 years. So you've got a pretty broad range. Now, what is the International Coach Federation? We mentioned they're the gold standard. What do they require? They require 60 hours. So at the Center for Coaching Certification, what we do is help you manage the time and the money that you're putting into this, and we do it in 2 steps. The Certified Professional Coach Program, 30 hours. One of the reasons we do this is for those of you that are going to use these skills on the job. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You can take 30 hours. You've got some basics, some foundational skills, and it makes a difference right away. For those of you doing this as, hey, I want to put myself out there as a coach, it means I'm going to go after being a member of the ICF. You're going to want that second step, the Master Coach Program. Those two combined give you the hours required to be a member. And then also, if you want to pursue the first level of credentialing, that initial masters or whatever you want to call it. So that will get you there in terms of training hours. As far as location, there are programs all over the world. Sometimes they're convenient to where you live. Sometimes they involve travel. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we're working very hard to make both options available. So we do classes in major cities around the country, and then we also offer the program completely online. So you have a choice. You can take it in one of those locations, you can take it online. So that's available to you. In terms of cost, a program that's a few hours online, yeah, you can find things as inexpensive in that $400 range. I've even seen less, depending on what it is. You can find programs all the way up to $20,000. I've had people say, oh yeah, $30,000 and more. So they're out there. That's there. At the Center for Coaching Certification, what we're working very hard on is having a model that works in terms of providing the quality and being affordable. Our professional coach program is $16.95. Our master coach program is $18.95. Next, when you look at a coach training program, wherever you go, there are 11 core competencies that are published by the International Coach Federation. Make sure all 11 competencies are being addressed. You want information, you want the opportunity to develop and enhance your skills in each of these areas. Now, some of them are going to overlap some information you know. The application in coaching is going to have some nuances to it, some unique approaches, etc. So you want all 11. What are they? Let's go through them. They're sorted into 4 different categories. The first category is called setting the foundation. And within setting the foundation are 2 competencies. One of them is addressing ethical guidelines. So that's the code of ethics that we're talking about. And then the other is the coaching agreement. I'm guessing you remember that step in the process. So knowing the ethics actually helps you in terms of having the conversation and then doing a written agreement. In addition to the area of setting the foundation, the next area of competencies is co-creating the relationship. I mentioned rapport being the #1 indicator. How do you develop that? Well, these 2 competencies very much speak to that. So the first one is trust and intimacy, creating that level of trust with your client so that they are comfortable and confident intimately sharing thoughts and what's going on for them, because that's how they're going to move forward. And then coaching presence. That's about you really being there and in the moment with the client and dancing in the moment. Not knowing where it's going, simply flexing based on what's happening. Then the area of communicating effectively. It includes 3 of our competencies. The first is active listening. Hearing what the client is really saying, listening deeply, hearing what they're not saying. Powerful questioning. I mentioned coaching questions are unique to anything else out there, and yes, they're powerful. And then direct communication. Direct communication is about being clear. It's about being respectful in how you have the conversation. Then the area of facilitating learning and results includes 4 competencies. The first one is creating awareness. Of course, by listening and asking questions, doing the exploration, that's how you're creating awareness. And then you're partnering with the client because they're designing their actions. You're planning how you're working together and moving forward in this process. And as a coach, you are their accountability partner. And being an accountability partner, yes, checking in, how are you doing with those action steps you designed and committed to? And it also means, how are you acknowledging progress along the way and success? So partnering with them on both of those. These 11 competencies you want to make sure are in whatever program that you're participating in. All right. In terms of what else to look for, this is kind of a tough one. Quality of training. Well, how do you know the quality of training if you haven't done the program? So you can look at a couple of things. We talked about credibility earlier, and that's looking at what kind of approval or accreditation is there. So for example, the International Coach Federation approves programs. They have 2 different approaches to that. They have what they call the ACSTH, Approved Coach Specific Training Hours, and they have the ACTP. What's the difference? Well, here's the basic difference. An ACTP program means you sign up for all 60 hours of coach training at one time. An ACSTH program is you're doing it, a la carte, a 30-hour and then another 30-hour. So essentially, that's the difference. Other than that, all the requirements in terms of the standards are going to be the same. So that's what that means. Now, in addition to being approved by the International Coach Federation, the program that we're doing is accredited by IACET. IACET stands for the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. Those of you that are in HR or talent development are probably familiar with this. This is the gold standard in terms of training, design, and delivery. Very much a bragging point for us. We are the only coaching certification program that is both approved by the ICF and accredited by IACET. So we're very excited about that. Another one for you, we have been approved by HRCI, that stands for the Human Resource Certification Institute, and actually another one, we've been approved by the Association for Image Consultants International. So that gives you something of a hint in terms of the quality of the training. I think another big hint is who takes the class. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we find we have a lot of members of ATD, the Association for Talent Development, SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, the Financial Planners Association. They're consultants who are applying the coaching skills. And actually on the same vein, I do see a fair number of attorneys as well. NABO, your business owners, your entrepreneurs. AICI is the image consultants. ICF, because people are looking for continuing education opportunities in addition to certification programs. IACET, because of course members there get what it means to be accredited. We see a lot of mental health professionals because coaching is a natural add-on and it works really well hand in hand with a lot of the work they're doing anyway. We see a large number of consultants and of course project managers. Now ultimately it is people who have a passion for empowering others. That's who really cares about it. So ultimately, who's going to benefit? I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Everybody. It's people skills and it's communication skills. So whether you're in a leadership role, a trainer, an educator, a consultant, manager, HR, project manager, service provider, business owner, yes, there's going to be value here. Let's talk about how it applies specifically. So there's a couple of things, and chances are you've seen or heard this kind of information. The Gallup number's been around for a while. Number one reason people quit their job is their boss. Business News said 84% of workers wanted to quit. Okay, look at the year on that, 2011. That's a down economy. And people wanted to leave their job. They couldn't, they wanted to. What do you think that does to employee engagement? And Right Management came in and said, this is about dissatisfaction and discontent, period, dot. And that goes back to what the Gallup poll says. People don't leave their job, their company, they leave their boss. So when you think about coaching as an opportunity for career, so yeah, of course there are jobs that it's now considered a skill set or a competency they want or require you to have. Anyone in a leadership role that learns the people skills and the communication skills of coaching is going to benefit. They're going to be more effective in their role. Now, on a personal level, developing your own skill set, what are the opportunities? Well, think back to those competencies, your communication competencies of listening, the clear, direct language, which is assertiveness, and then questioning. Those are skills that help in everything we do. People skills, recognizing different personalities and knowing how to adjust to them. And then how to set goals in a way that creates change, motivates the follow-through. So of course this is powerful on a personal level. Now as far as business opportunity goes, how much of an opportunity is there if you're going to be a coach? So the ICF, International Coach Federation, did a study and they said the hourly cost for a coach ranges from $100 an hour to $3,500. The median is $500. Now, of course, we want to be clear on something. $3,500, yeah, that sounds great. Oprah Winfrey probably pays a coach that much. We got to be thinking about how much of that level is out there. So for most people, think about it this way. If you're going to go into being a life coach or a career coach, you're probably in that $100 to $200 an hour range. If you're going to coach in a business setting, it's $200 to $400. And if you're coaching at the executive level, it's probably $400 to $600. So to hone in on where it's at, part of it is going to depend on the type of coaching. And of course, part of it's going to depend on what you bring to the table in terms of experience. Now, currently, there's one coach for every 29,000 people. That means there's a lot of room for more coaches out there. So as a business opportunity, whether it's an add-on service or part of full-time, yes, there's opportunity. Now, one of the questions that was submitted back when you first registered, I think fits in really well right here. are we going to help you in terms of how to do that? So there's a couple of things we do to support you. First off, on the credibility side, helping you get published or be that guest blogger or be the guest presenter, that helps you get out there and get known. That is one way we help you. Another way is having the online searchable directory called Find a Certified Coach, available only to graduates of this program. In addition to that, when you complete the program, we have a 90-minute recorded class on the business of coaching and a 90-minute recorded class on marketing yourself as a coach, and those are provided to you. And then on top of that, every month we do a free 1-hour Q&A call where you get to call in and ask and talk whatever you want to ask about in terms of business and marketing. So we've got a lot of different things we're doing to support you in that regard. And then of course the information we put out there all the time. So hopefully that's answering that question. I'm going to go ahead and shift now into describing the programs. I'm going to start with the Professional Coach Program. How does it actually work? Whether you are taking the class online or face-to-face in one of the cities we offer it in, the first step in the program is actually a series of online classes. It's the same 5 classes whether you're doing everything online or whether you're going to have part of it in that city. So the online classes, how are they managed? They're similar to what's happening right now. Here are the 2 main differences. Number 1, you're going to actually see all the names of everybody who's participating, and number 2, you're going to be live. So right now you're on what we call the mute mode. When you talk, we can't hear you. When you're in class, we can hear you. You're asking questions, answering questions, participating in the discussion. So you're going to get to know your classmates. The first class that we do is called About Coaching. So we're talking about what a coach is, what a coach isn't, and we're modeling for you in many ways the conversation you have to set up an agreement with somebody, really understanding it. We also are taking a look at the core competencies for a coach and getting you initiated into that. Then the second class is on the Code of Ethics. We actually have a lot of fun there. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, if this is the situation, what do you do? What does it mean? Hey, look at this in the Code of Ethics. What does that mean to you? How does that apply? So you're really figuring out how it works for you. It's fabulous insight. Then we say for the third one, bring your sense of humor, come ready to laugh and have a good time. It's called Understanding Your Client. Well, it makes sense when we say have fun because think about it, we're all people, and what does that mean? We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and when we start thinking about what those are and how it works, coming with a sense of humor is a good thing. We're going to learn more and we're going to enjoy the process. This is providing you with a tool to recognize what it is for your client. How are they thinking and processing, and how do you adjust to them based on what's going on for them? Then our fourth class is on communication, and you're going to have the nuanced application of communication skills you've been hearing about for a long time. Hey, what's different about it in coaching in terms of, for example, the process with the listening, the language, the word choices, and then also the questions. That's huge. Then we get into focus and motivation. And really understanding, okay, so for the client, first off, how are they processing this, and how do they define their goals in a way that really supports them maintaining their focus on that and being motivated to move forward. And it's some great content. With each of the classes that you take, you will have a homework assignment afterwards. We give you 3 questions to answer, and doing the homework is an opportunity for you to be intentional about the skill set you're learning in the class. I've got somebody asking me what time of day are the online classes held. We offer them at on different schedules. So I'll give you an example. On the website right now, there's an online class that's going to start in a few weeks. And that one, if I remember correctly, is in the middle of the day. And then a couple weeks after that, a different class is going to start, and it's an evening class. So you've got choices. You want to look at the schedule page on the website and make sure all of the dates and times work for you. They're all listed there. Okay, and in keeping with that, yes, we do have a couple of classes starting. Actually, got a couple of classes starting tomorrow, one in Boston and one in Phoenix. So if you want to be in one of those classes, let us know right away. We want to make that happen for you. Okay, let's dive back in. Now, the next step after your classes is your coaching practicum. This is where you get a chance to coach, be coached, and observe coaching. In the program, we partner you up with your fellow students. The trainer's right there and available. We give you a process for managing that coaching relationship. So in terms of doing that, if it is a program where it's in one of the cities, it's going to be 2 days face-to-face. If it's the online program, the practicum is set up where it is 4 half days online. We find that's what works best for people. So either way, it's the same practicum. You're going to do the same series of coaching sessions, etc. It is so exciting to be able to practice what you're learning about and be the coach. It's incredibly important to have a chance to be coached, because if you're going to coach other people, you got to understand what that is. And then, of course, observing is awesome too. Let's see, another questions. Where the live classes are in your city. So first off, what we do is once we know who the participants are in a program and we know the final classroom count, that's when we finalize the meeting space. We do use airport location hotels because we find that works for the greatest number of people. If you want to know for a specific city, just send me an email and we'll look at that, because I'm not sure which city you're in. All right, so thanks for that question. Next, at the end of the coaching practicum, we're going to give you a case study to complete. It's a fabulous way of reviewing everything you've done and outlining everything that happens from an initial conversation all the way through some of the challenges in the coaching relationship. Then, after you complete your certified professional coach program, you're going to have access to the recordings I mentioned on business and on marketing, plus that monthly Q&A call, and the free continuing education that we do. Now, of course, I'll give you a hint. The free continuing education, that's available to everyone. Any of you can access that right now. If you go to our website and look on resources, you'll see free webinars. We've got a couple of free programs coming up. You can sign up for them whenever you want. All right. After the Certified Professional Coach Program, for those of you going on to the Certified Master Coach, you're going to join the ICF or earn a credential, etc. What's that program? All of our Master Coach programs are done completely online. We, again, start with a webinar series. The very first class is called Group and Team Coaching, and we do that first because part of the program is to do group and team coaching. So everybody gets a chance to be the coach for everybody else in the class in a group coaching session, and then you participate in the other group sessions. So learning about what it is and how it works and how to prepare and set it up and manage it, etc. That's what we're going to discuss. Then we move into talking about the competencies, and we're going to get into specific do's and don'ts, and it's a fabulous discussion. So we start with the competency area of ethics and agreements. We discuss coaching process in terms of co-creating the relationship by developing that trust and intimacy and being present. We get into your communication skills in the People in Communication program. We talk about the creating awareness, designing actions, planning, and goal setting, and also the accountability in the program called Creating Change with Confidence. Then we move into topics that are factors for everybody and also considered rather sensitive. So we talk about how do we manage that and deal with that. With the Master Coach program, your homework Some of it's done before class, some of it's done after class. So just like in the professional coach program, we give you questions to answer, and of course you're applying it in real life situations. The coaching practicum itself, in addition to including the group coaching, does have individual sessions. In the Master Coach program, we have you interviewing each other, and you're involved in choosing who you want as a coach. So that's an exciting part of that process. And then your final is the final report. Okay, so I've got somebody asking the next question. The master coach follows the professional coach. Yes, that is correct. So the certified professional coach program is your first 30 hours. The certified master coach is 35 hours. The two combined give you the required hours so that you can join the ICF. And if you decide to pursue the first level of credentialing, those two classes are enough training to meet that requirement. With the Master Coach program, what I've shared with you thus far, that's what it takes to graduate. And of course, as with any class, the more you put into it yourself, the more you're going to get out of it. All right, let's talk next steps. A couple of things. First off, I promised you something. A free 30-minute coaching session. So those of you that are here, you're investing your time in exploring this, so I'm investing my time in you. Here's what I'm going to do. After this program, I will load it on YouTube, and then I will send you a link to the program on the YouTube channel. For those of you that do want to do it, simply sign up through YouTube, or I'm sorry, simply watch for that email. You can look at it on YouTube. If you want the free 30 minutes, reply to the email. And if you reply, just say, hey, send me a link to your calendar. And I will. And when you click the link to my calendar, it'll take you right online. You can look at times that are available, select one that works for you, put in your name and phone number, and on that day at that time, I will call you. It'll be your 30 minutes. Next, the next step. There is an application on the website. Filling out the application really clarifies for you, hey, this is what's expected for me to complete this program, and it gives us a chance to get to know you. That way, when you're in a class, we know you, and it's effective in terms of developing that relationship as a trainer. Then, when you know which class you want to hold a spot in the class, make sure you're enrolled. It's that simple. You pay your registration on it, and that's how you're going to hold it. I do want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your interest in this. I will hang around as long as you're here. My objective, of course, is to get your questions answered, whatever it is you want to know about the coaching certification. I do want to make sure, of course, I'm respecting time, and that's the reason I'm saying, okay, we're finished on that. I'm going to invite you to type in questions in the question panel. If you do want to come on live, you can raise your hand. I'm happy to unmute you so that you can come on live and ask your questions that way as well. So let's see, actually, and I've got somebody here, you asked how long does the certification process take? I think we've answered that. Tell me if you got what you wanted there. The professional coach program is a total of 30 hours between classroom time and homework time. The master coach is a total of 35 hours. Next question, educational and behavioral health organizations, what do they want in terms of coaches? You know, it's going to go back to what everybody's looking for nowadays. They're asking about your training, your certification. They're asking about the ICF membership. Another question, let's see, are all 3 certificate levels required? So that means somebody's been reading the website. The first step is the professional coach class. We talked about that. The second step is the master coach class. We talked about that. The advanced coach training that we offered, you'll see it on the website. That is intended for people going after a higher level of credentialing, wanting continuing education hours, etc. So in order to become a member of the ICF, the first 2 levels are what they're looking for, and that's also going to get you there in terms of that first level of credentialing. So these are great questions. I appreciate some of you have had to jump off and head out to different things. So I got some comments from them, and a number of you are saying thank you. So thank you as well. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your interest, and definitely looking forward to being of service. So have a fabulous day and on into a fabulous weekend, and do reach out and let us know how we can be helpful. So thank you, everyone.